which message would the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, bring for the Europeans to Munich? That was one of the key questions here. And one of those listening very carefully to Mr. Rubio's message was, of course, the German Foreign Minister, Johann Wadephul. Good morning, Mr. Wadephul. So what did you make of Marco Rubio's speech?
It was a very positive speech, underlining our common basis we do have between the United States and Europe. Germany also making clear that we have cultural bonds, that we have a common language, that we have a common democratic ground. So that was very important. And I would say the key message was, let's do it again. We were successful through all the times of the Cold War. We came to the very situation that the Iron Curtain fell down. Germany was reunited. There was a success of the transatlantic relation and our bond, and NATO, of course. And we are now stronger than ever. I would say with Finland and Sweden joining us, NATO is bigger than it ever was before. So I would say his positive message for the future was, let's do it again. And I would say this is an engagement Europe should accept, and we should think, of course, what should we do? What is our contribution to make us successful in the future as well?
The tone was more conciliatory than J.D. Vance's last year here in Munich, but there were some words where they could sound alarm bells with the Europeans when Marco Rubio spoke of a climate cult, for example. What did you make of that?
No, the speech was a different category to the speech we heard last year. So it was a speech about foreign policies, of course, about the threats which lay ahead, on which we are faced with. Climate is one of the threats, but also migration. He addressed that, and of course you see a lot of governments in Europe also struggling with that issue and taking countermeasures, as Germany does. So we are reading from the same paper. Of course, climate change is there, and of course we have to give answers. We have not to deny that climate change is existing, but I understood his speech in a way that we have to give flexible answers, not to be dogmatic. So, of course, I wouldn't say that we have 100% overlapping between our priorities and the priorities from the US side, but I would say this is really a common ground for a bright future between the United States and Europe.
And don't you see a risk that if this is a more conciliatory tone, that maybe some of those countries that don't invest a lot at the moment in Europe in defense and security, that they might go back to sleep?
No, we can nobody allow to go back to sleep because the threats are there. Russia is stepping up with its army. It's recruiting in a manner which is, of course, scaring for all of us. And China is also, I would say, not only a partner for us, but also a systemic rival. So we are faced with a lot of threats. We have to, for us, for our prosperity in the future, we have to have critical minerals, rare earths, and semiconductors. These are questions which are laying ahead where we have to find common answers. And this was the offer from Marco Rubio, as far as I understood it, that he and the United States is ready to do it together with us.
I didn't hear Ukraine mentioned in the speech.
That was, but in the Q&A session, he was absolutely clear about that. So he made clear, and this is also our understanding, that we are now coming to the very concrete, severe points where Russia has to show whether there is really a willingness to bring that war to an end. And he said, and this is also our position, that we have to put more pressure on Russia, as the United States is doing in their talks and in their negotiations with India. And so Putin really feels economic pressure, and that should bring him now to the result that it is better to make now concessions and to find now a solution for this war.
So after Munich, Marco Rubio is traveling on to Hungary, amongst other countries. Viktor Orban famously called Ukraine an enemy because it hinders access to cheap energy sources, in Viktor Orban's words. What kind of a message do you expect Marco Rubio to bring to Viktor Orban?
Hungary is still a NATO partner and has to be integrated into the NATO frame. And I would say he will be concentrating on these questions. I have no doubt that Marco Rubio has the same understanding of how the Ukrainian war has to be solved as ours is.
Thank you very much, Johann Wadephul.